gave them food and shelter when they didn't have it. Not saying they couldn't get it, but they know the situations that they were in. You know what I mean? As school kids. And
they were in school, they got kicked out, you said?
Both of them got kicked out.
Both of them got kicked out and you gave them food and shelter. How did you have money for food and shelter?
I learned how to do it.
What you talking about, man?
What's the chances of you, Cam, and Mase getting back?
I don't think it's really going to happen. We two different type of people. Always have. Competitive nature always been first before friendship. Remember, Camron, man, it's not.
So it's not you.
I took the position of my position.
You were fanned out and you begged to come to your house after you heard all these mixtapes. That's how you got in. You was so cool. And we was like, yo, Jomo's a nice guy. Mace like, yo, I think I'll teach him how to rap. Mace actually taught you how to rap. Literally. He taught you how to rap.
Definition, Jimmy, because when you think, if I ask anybody on the streets of New York, like, give me some adjective or definition of Jim Jones, what do you think one of the words would be?
I would hope a survivor, a visionary, a philanthropist, a person with a big heart, a person that stands on 10 toes. Not perfect. He's a perfect example of what could happen for you in life if you believe in yourself.
This is uncharted territory. These are conversations we never had in hip hop. This is uncharted territory.
Jim Jones just can't seem to chill. The Harlem rapper is back stirring up chaos again, and this time he's got the internet losing it. After dropping some bold claims about Mace and Camron, fans are saying Jim's acting real salty lately. Every time it feels like he's ready to move on, he throws another jab that drags everyone right back into the drama. During a recent podcast, Jim started talking about fake love in Harlem and how people switch sides when the cameras come on. But here's the kicker. Nobody even mentioned names. Jim went ahead and called them out himself, saying, "You see Mace and Cam? They not the same? Them boys Hollywood now? Like, whoa!" The moment those words left his mouth, the internet exploded. People instantly started clowning him, saying, "Here he goes again talking about Mace and Cam instead of making music." What made it even messier is how Jim tried to play it off like he was giving some kind of street wisdom to the youth, but it just came off bitter. Especially when you realize that Mace and Camron have been absolutely winning lately. Their show It Is What It Is blew up this year and became one of the biggest hip-hop media platforms around. The duo turned their Harlem energy into a whole empire. Millions of views, celebrity guests, brand deals, and non-stop viral moments. So when Jim threw shade saying they ain't really from the streets, it didn't sound like truth-telling. It sounded like envy. Fans could feel it. People were calling him out left and right, saying he's just mad because they're shining without him. Even the podcast host looked uneasy, like, "Man, we didn't ask for all that." And you could tell Jim was enjoying every second of it. He kept talking like he was exposing something real, but instead, it came off like old Harlem tension bubbling up again.
How much do you credit you being successful to Cam?
I credit a lot to Cam, but I also credit a lot to us because behind closed doors, it was us that put him in that position.
You was a fan. You begged us. You are a fan, nigga. A fan.
They can't live with me in the projects in my grandmother's house.
In your grandmother's house?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but she was gone.
Passed away.
So you got the apartment to yourself. Mm-hmm. They come, but you still got to pay the rent.
Yeah, I paid the rent. I paid Coup de Love rent. That was Mace manager. I was a hustler. I always been a hustler.
You were in the streets.
I know how to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we going to Jomo's house? I heard the new shit you did. Yo, you want to come through? Come through. So yeah, I would bring some business over there sometime. Look, maybe.
There wasn't times where Cam had to do what he had to do to make $1 and things like that. But from the beginning, I always had to make $1 because I always been on my own.
Yeah.
I raised my whole family since I was a teenager. I used to hustle and get my mom's money. You heard it. My first job in this thing was a hype man for Cam. You know what I mean? But I started as Cam partner. We came in this mission wholeheartedly. I knew what my job was. He knew what his job was.
What was your job?
My job was to make sure nothing happened to that man while he was trying to be successful, because I knew that if he be successful, then he's going to turn around and make him successful. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, he was doing music a long time and things like that, but it was a pivotal moment where before he got signed, them 2 years was very crucial to everything that we did together in his journey of becoming who Cam is.
Do you remember how we met? Pause. Not met. How you got cool with us? Basically, you heard our freestyles. Yo, man, I heard the freestyles. Y'all killing shit.
This wasn't about street credibility. It was about pride, history, and who really runs Harlem right now. One thing's for sure. Jim's words got the city talking again, and Mace and Cam, they don't even have to respond. Their success is doing all the talking, but Jim just couldn't stop talking. He kept doubling down like he had something to prove. He said, "I'm just saying, not everybody who talked tough was tough. Some people grew up around real dudes and borrowed the aura." And that one line, it set the whole internet on fire. Fans went wild in the comments accusing Jim of projecting his own insecurities. Because let's be honest, out of the three Harlem legends, Jim's always looked like he's got the biggest chip on his shoulder.
You know what I'm saying? Mase and all that going on yet, or are they still coming up?
I'm not gonna sit here and do a discography, my brother. It's a little bit too much for me. And you ain't pay enough for that. So if you got some other questions you wanna ask, or you could erase all this, send you your money back. I understand what's going on and the plight of everything that's going on, and people want to know the history, but this ain't the way that you're not going to be able to get the whole Jim Jones or Jomo story for that, what you did. I thought this was some regular questions. Seemed like you're trying to get everything up to every point, and that's not going to happen right now. So if you want to ask some questions, I'm cool with that, but you definitely can't ask me all these questions you're asking, my brother. So if you got some...
Yeah. Matter of fact, bring up the clip.
Mace helped me learn how to rap. Mace taught me how to rap. Mace actually showed me, he was the first person to show me how to rap. Mace actually sat me down and showed me the magic to rap.
We taught you how to rap. How you ran the whole organization. How you made Diplomat. We ain't make none of this up. You was a fan. I put you down because you had a free crib and you was a nice guy. That's how you got down originally. Period.
This beef ain't new either. Jim's been tossing little shots at Mace and Cam for years, ever since Dipset started falling apart. Back in the golden era of Harlem, these three were untouchable. Mase had those smooth radio hits that made him a superstar. Camron was the business mind and the fashion king. And Jim? He was the muscle, the loud one, the self-proclaimed street general. Together, they defined what Harlem sounded like. But over time, everything changed. Mase reinvented himself, became respected again for keeping it real and showing growth. Camron flipped the script completely, turning into a full-blown media mogul with "It Is What It Is." And Jim? He's still out here trying to prove who's the real Harlem like it's 2003 again. It's like he's stuck in a loop, fighting battles nobody's even bringing up anymore. Now, these new comments might be the breaking point because Mace and Cam don't even have to say a word to make him look foolish. Their success speaks louder than any diss.
I'm extremely happy today. I'm extremely happy of what I've accomplished, who I've become, what I've overcame, what I have the ability to do.
You was not there, man. You wasn't there. You were fanned out and you begged to come to your house after you heard all these mixtapes. That's how you got in.
Whenever I do my interviews, I'm very real with myself. You know what I mean? Like, I know the whole playing field.
We taught you how to rap. How you ran the whole organization.
People get this picture painted like I'm from the real bottom with nothing. I've been traveling on the train since I've been 8 and 9. I've been telling people this for years. Like, I'm a real anomaly. Like, I'm different in New York City. I was a man long before I was supposed to be a man.
Get out of here.
How you made Diplomat. Yeah, you ain't make none of this up. You was a fan. So you gonna sit around and act like you been around all this Harlem and everything. You ever see somebody from Harlem try to act like they from Harlem so bad that you gotta keep saying, I'm from Harlem?
Fans are pointing out that every single time Mace and Cam make a power move together, here comes Jim with another Harlem talk moment, throwing a little shade, acting like he's giving life lessons. This latest rant followed the same playbook. When someone asked Jim about "It Is What It Is," he said, "It's cool they doing something positive, but let's not act like they ever did anything for the city." That line had people cracking up because let's be real, if anyone put Harlem on the global map after Big L, it's definitely Mace and Cameron. Mase had the entire world in a chokehold back in the late 90s. His style was smooth but slick, mixing that preacher calm with street flavor. Nobody else was doing it like him. And Cam? He carried Harlem through the 2000s. Dipset wasn't just a rap crew. It was a whole movement. From pink furs to slang trends, Cam turned Harlem into a brand that reached every corner of hip-hop. So when Jim tries to downplay their impact, it doesn't sound like truth. It sounds like jealousy wrapped in nostalgia.
What you think Cam gonna do? You think he just gonna sit there and you think he gonna, and Jim, basically Jim rhymed first. You know what I mean? Well, actually Cam and 50 said what they was talking about what they said. Jim heard that, he came back and said that. Now motherfucking Cam, what you think Cam gonna do? Cam is a lyricist. He's gonna make you feel any type of stupidity way that's possible. Basically, he's gonna say shit that basically kick you in your nuts. You know what I mean? He's gonna rip your heart out. Remember the old school when they was doing electric boogie and they grabbed the neck by the heart, pulled the heart, they just had in their head. And bit the shit through it, stomped on it. That's what you're gonna hear. It's basically they was going back and forth. After that, like I said, it went to the money. That's the whole point of the situation. Yeah, you're gonna say Jim is from the Bronx. Everybody else on the side, your group of niggas, be like, yeah, man, you know, he's a peanut gallery. They gonna make up all this shit to make sure to turn the peanuts into peanut butter and whip it into something else to make it all a whole bunch of different shit. Then my niggas is gonna talk about your feet and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so.
Fans see it clear as day now. Jim's not mad at them for switching up. He's mad the spotlight ain't on him anymore. And that's the real story burning underneath all this Harlem drama. The pink fur, the slang, the swagger, yeah, that was all Camron. Jim might have played his role, but let's be honest, Cam was the mastermind behind that whole Harlem wave. So when Jim starts trying to talk down on him and Mase, it comes off like he's trying to rewrite history. And that's exactly why fans are furious. They're saying, Jim keeps acting like he built Harlem by himself. Cut it out. People even started digging up old clips from interviews where Jim was showing major respect to both Mase and Cam. He used to call them mentors. He even said Cam was a visionary who taught him how to move in the industry. So what changed? Somewhere along the way, that respect flipped into resentment. Maybe it was when Dipset broke apart and everyone went solo. Maybe it was when Mase and Cam reunited for It Is What It Is and didn't invite Jim into the mix. But whatever it was, it clearly hit a nerve. You can see that frustration every time he brings them up. When Mase and Cam heard about Jim's latest rant, they didn't even waste energy mentioning his name. They just laughed it off on their show like professionals who know they're winning. Mase cracked a joke saying, "Some people mad because they can't get a seat at the table." And Cam followed up smooth saying, "We busy making money, not excuses." That's all it took. The internet went crazy. Fans said it was the cleanest clapback ever. No cursing, no shouting, just pure confidence. They cooked him without even cooking him, as one fan put it. After that, Jim tried to do damage control online, claiming he was misquoted. But everyone had already seen the full video. There was no edit, no misunderstanding. He said exactly what he said. And instead of just taking accountability, he doubled down again. He started dropping cryptic posts on Instagram like, "Real ones don't need validation." But by then, the damage was already done. What's sad is that all of this could have gone so differently. Imagine if Jim had just shown love instead of throwing shade. Harlem could have looked unstoppable. 3 icons coming together instead of tearing each other down. Mase with the wisdom, Cam with the business, Jim with the street voice. That's a powerhouse. But instead, it feels like pride got in the way, and now the same city they all repped looks divided again. At this point, fans are starting to wonder if Jim's chasing respect that he already earned years ago. He just doesn't realize it because he's too busy trying to prove he's realer than the next man. And that's the real heartbreak, because Harlem's legacy deserves unity, not another headline about who's more authentic.
But the thing about it is, you gotta understand the war. Like, Jim it's like battling. It's like rap. Like motherfucking rap. Jim, whatever, but they wasn't. They was on platforms. Jim said what he said. Jim, I think what he said, something about inviting him to his so he said, he said, they on my dick, right? That's something that's serious. Like, you hear that, you like, ooh, it's like Jim caught a ball. Oh!
Do you consider Jim a Harlem guy or no?
Jim basically was with Killer for a minute. You know what I'm saying? Cam already, you gotta understand, Jim had family in 1199 and Cam had family in 1199, and they both had family members over there. So that's how that connection went on, as far as, cause Bloodshed and everybody was over there. So that was the connection with that, as far as being First Avenue. First Avenue, they built up these condos called 1199, and Cam had family over there and Jim had family over there. So when Cam and Digger and Bloodshed was rocking, that was how Jim was able to make that connection, because Cam was going to First Ave and Jim had family on First Ave. You know what I'm saying? At a real young age. We was teenagers though, 14.
3 legends from the same city, the same era, all still making waves. That's what real legacy looks like. But Jim? He seems addicted to the chaos. It's like he'd rather argue about respect than actually earn it again. Fans are saying Mace and Cam have completely outgrown him, that they've evolved into true businessmen, while Jim's still stuck acting like that bitter ex-friend who can't stop talking about what could have been. Let's be real, Jim's credibility been slipping for a minute now, from that messy Dipset verses. The LOX versus battle to his constant social media beefs, his vibe's been off. People are starting to say it feels like he's chasing relevance through drama instead of consistency. And this latest Mace and Cam rant, it just adds more fuel to the idea that Jim's become his own biggest obstacle. Instead of celebrating Harlem's wins, he somehow always turns the spotlight back on himself. Back in the day, Harlem unity meant something. It was about pride, respect, and representing the block with love. But now it feels like Jim's the only one still holding grudges from 2 decades ago. Everyone else moved on, but he's still keeping score like it's 2005. And the funniest part? While Mace and Cam are out here dominating media, Jim's still talking about who's outside. Like, bro, it's 2025. Nobody cares about who's standing on the block anymore. People care about who's getting paid, who's building something that lasts. Mace and Cam figured that out. They turned their friendship into a whole business empire with It Is What It Is. Their platform blends comedy, sports, culture, and real talk. It's everything hip-hop media needed, but didn't have. They kept that Harlem flavor, but made it smart, modern, and money-driven.
Cam and Jim history go back before me. You understand what I'm saying? When I met Cam and Jim, they were super close. So I honestly don't really know Jim being from the Bronx and all that. You know what I'm saying? When I met them, they was in 5H, which is, you know what I'm saying, Jim's apartment, and that's, you know, like, I guess that time was after all the stuff Cam had said already with the Children of the Corn and Jim, you know, whatever he said. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, when I got there, Cam and Jim was like this, super tight. Mace wasn't even in the picture. I don't know Mace like that. You know what I'm saying? Every time I seen Mace, it's been a mutual, you know what I'm saying, respect there. So, you know, that's what that's been as far as me and Mace. You know what I'm saying? As far as, yeah, when I met Cam and Jim, they were already Trump tight and locked in. You understand what I'm saying? The Diplomats was already a name they had. You know what I'm saying? I don't sit there and claim I made the Dip, so that's not something I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? I made Dipset though, the two. Yeah, I did that. You know what I'm saying? But now people got these platforms where, you know, they asking people. So
every episode trends, every clip goes viral. They adapted. That's what winners do. Meanwhile, Jim's out here hopping from podcast to podcast, defending his legacy like anyone's even questioning it. Nobody's saying he didn't contribute. People just wish he'd evolve like the rest. Even rapper Yo-Yo said it perfectly in a recent interview. Some rappers get mad because their peers leveled up while they still stuck in old mindsets. And man, that line fits Jim like a glove. Every time Mace and Cam evolve, Jim starts talking wild again. It's like he can't stand to see them shine without him in the picture. Instead of taking inspiration from their success, he uses it as motivation to stir more controversy, and fans are starting to get tired of it. They miss the Jim who moved with confidence, not the one chasing headlines for attention. Because at the end of the day, Harlem's legacy deserves to be celebrated, not dragged into another ego war. The city raised 3 giants, but only 2 seem focused on the future, while 1 keeps living in the past. It's like Jim just can't handle not being in the spotlight anymore. Every time Mace and Cam shine, he starts throwing shade like clockwork, and fans are saying there's a reason behind it: jealousy. They've been pointing out how Jim's been trying to launch his own podcast for a while now, but it just hasn't hit the same way It Is What It Is did. He even teased a show with a similar setup, same kind of talk show vibe, but it flopped before it could even get traction. So instead of building his own lane, he's busy throwing rocks at theirs on Twitter. People online have been ruthless too. They started calling him Harlem's 50-year-old hater, which sounds brutal, but this is the internet. Nobody's holding back. Fans started digging up old clips where Jim claimed he put Camron on. Then they matched those with interviews where he admitted that Cam was the one who gave him his first record deal. The contradictions were wild, and it made Jim look messy. Like, how do you go from giving someone credit to trying to take it away? That's the kind of flip-flopping fans don't forget. At this point, it's obvious. Jim's biggest battle isn't with Mase or Cam, it's with himself. He can't seem to separate pride from progress. Every time another Harlem native wins, he takes it as competition instead of celebration. But here's the truth. Mace and Cam don't even see him as competition anymore. They're operating on a whole different level. They turned Harlem's street legacy into global relevance. They're signing deals, sitting with moguls, and shaping culture, while Jim's still online trying to prove who's the realest one out the bunch. But when you have to keep reminding people you're real, it usually means they already stopped believing it. And that's the real issue fans are pointing out. The more Jim tries to prove himself, the more he looks insecure, like a legend who doesn't realize he's already won. Now everyone's asking the same question. What's really driving Jim Jones to keep doing this? Is it pride? Is it ego? Or is it that quiet fear of being forgotten? Because at this point, it's starting to look like all three. Jim built his name on hustle, loyalty, and pure charisma. Nobody can take that away from him. But lately, it feels like he's clinging to old beefs and past glory instead of creating something new to keep his buzz alive. Fans want to see the Jim who inspired people, not the one arguing online for validation. Because legacy ain't about proving you're real. It's about staying relevant without losing yourself in the process. And right now, Jim's at a crossroads between the Harlem hero he was and the headline chaser he's becoming. And that's the real shame, because Jim does have talent. He's got that raw charisma that made him a Harlem icon in the first place. But somewhere along the way, he forgot how to let go of old wounds.
Wedge that became between Cam and Jim is Jim's success. Cam always looked at him as being the star, Jim being Capo. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it's kind of like Sammy the Bull becoming John Gotti. You know what I'm saying? Gotti's probably gonna feel a little way if Sammy becomes the main man. You know what I'm saying? And in that situation, that's what it is. Jim started to grow as an artist. And as he started to grow as an artist, he started moving from standing behind Cam to he started standing next to Cam. And then it got to a point where he stood in front of Cam. Mm-hmm. And Cam was looking him over his shoulder like, yo, what you doing? And then that built the animosity. And by the time Ballin' hit, Cam had a gang of animosity and internal hatred. And I know because I seen it, I was there. He was under the wing. Jim with the muscle. You get what I'm saying? Jim he's Cam's partner.
You know what I mean? People think you got all this money. Yeah, I do got money, but if I don't hustle every day to pay these bills the same way you got to work every day to pay your bills, it'll be detrimental for me the same way it'd be detrimental for you. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm constantly on the hustle to make more money. That's what life is about. You know what I mean? Money fixes a lot of things. You know what I mean? They say money don't buy happiness, but it made me smile a lot of times.
Meanwhile, Mace and Cam have mastered something that Jim still struggles with: evolution. They figured out that in 2025, you don't have to be in the streets to keep your street cred. You keep it by staying solid, owning your lane, and building something that lasts. That's exactly what their show It Is What It Is represents. Harlem growing up. It's maturity, hustle, and business all rolled into one, but Jim's still acting like it's 2005, like the only way to prove you're real is by dissing somebody. The game changed, but he didn't. And the funniest part, every single time he talks wild about them, Mace and Cam just win even more. Their clips go viral, their followers go up, and they start trending again, while Jim ends up looking like the bitter one, yelling from the sidelines. It's turned into a whole pattern now. He talks, they laugh, and the fans pick sides. But every time the smoke clears, Jim's the one catching the L. People online have even started roasting him for it. One viral comment said, "Jim act like an ex who can't stop talking about his old crew." And honestly, that's exactly what it feels like. He's still mad about being left out of the glow up, like he's watching his old teammates win championships while he's stuck replaying old highlights.
Emery had a Puma creative rep, and it ain't even like jail back on his plate no time soon, and they ain't never going back. You know what's gangster? Biggs is gangster. Biggs come home for jail, still got a stake in Rockefeller, whatever him and Jay-Z worked out, that's cool. Or whatever, he got St. John as artist, he working with Drink Champs. That's gangster. Not throwing back in the pot to eventually do something that could get them back in the same situation. And I'm not saying, if you got something lined up for Matrix, I'm shut the my bad, I apologize, but I don't want that for Melly, because I get about Melly. Whether he care about me like he used to or not, I still my love for Melly. So hopefully that'll go right. But this is gonna be the last time I address this. I did this 10 years ago. A lot of people seem like this is new business. When Jim wanted to go to Rock Nation, he sat there and was crying on Funk Master Flex.
But here's the thing, if Jim really wanted to win, he'd link up instead of lashing out. Imagine the power of a real Harlem reunion, Mase, Cam, and Jim putting all that ego aside and standing shoulder to shoulder again. That would break the internet overnight. It'd remind everyone why Harlem was different back in the day, because when they moved together, nobody could touch them. But instead, Jim keeps wasting his energy trying to prove points nobody asked for. He's fighting battles from a past that doesn't even matter anymore. Mace and Cam already showed that growth is the real revenge, success, peace, and longevity. That's how you win in this era. Jim's problem isn't that he fell off. It's that he refuses to evolve. And until he lets go of that pride, he's going to keep watching his old crew shine without him, wondering why the spotlight doesn't hit him the same way it used to. At this point, everybody sees it clear as day. Mace and Cam are thriving and Jim's out here spiraling again. He keeps tripping, trying to grab the spotlight back by saying wild stuff just to get attention. But the more he talks, the more obvious it becomes who's really grown and who's still stuck in the past. It's like every time he opens his mouth, he proves exactly why people stop taking him seriously. Mace and Cam have evolved beyond the petty back and forths. They're living examples of how to turn legacy into longevity. They don't need to scream about being real because their success already says it for them. They built something that lasts, something that honors Harlem without having to drag anyone else down. Meanwhile, Jim's legacy, once respected, once powerful, is starting to sound like a broken record, drowned out by his own bitterness. And that's the crazy part. Every time Jim tries to clown Mace and Cam, he just ends up clowning himself instead. It's like watching someone fight shadows. He's so busy trying to rewrite Harlem's story that he's erasing his own chapter in the process. Fans are tired of the ego trips and want to see unity, not another rant about who's real. Because at the end of the day, Harlem's greatness has always come from teamwork, energy, and evolution, not jealousy. The real ones already know what time it is. Mace and Cam are too busy winning to even respond, and that silence hits harder than any diss track. They're sitting on business deals, trending every week, and turning Harlem pride into global power moves. That's what growth looks like. No need for chaos, just results. So yeah, maybe Jim Jones will keep talking, but the truth doesn't lie. Mace and Cam built legacies that speak louder than words, while Jim's own story keeps fading under the noise he creates. It's wild to see, but it's also a lesson. Sometimes silence wins louder than shouting ever could. And that's where we'll leave it for now. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more wild celebrity drama. Don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. Whose side are you on? Team Mace and Cam or Team Jim? Let's talk about it. And hey, before you go, check out the next video on your screen. We've got even more crazy moments where rappers got exposed for being fake gangsters. You're not gonna want to miss it. Catch you in the next one.